All right, welcome everybody. I hope everybody's having a great Tuesday night, and I'm actually live tonight. So thanks for being so patient with me on the last 2 weeks. I had pre-recorded videos for you guys. I hope you all got to see them because I was out of town at a baseball tournament in Arizona, and oh man, was it hot there. So I'm glad to be home, glad to be live tonight with all of you. So if you are new to my Facebook Live, my name is Julie Brown. I am an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. And I would love to hear from you. So make sure you type in the comments and let me know you're here. And also, if you have any questions, hey Mel, if you have any questions, that's also the place to type your questions. So I'm going to go over some housekeeping really quick, and then we'll get on with our card tonight. So real quick, for anyone who's placing orders with me this month, please use hostess code XV76Y6QB. Also, don't forget that I believe they are still doing the Designer Series paper sale right now, so make sure you check that out and see what great deals you can get on the Designer Series paper. You can order through juliebrown.stampinup.net. And you can contact me at juliescreativestamping@gmail.com. And then that's also Julie's Creative Stamping is my name for my Pinterest and Facebook pages. Most importantly, go to my blog. Tonight I am only doing one card and only showing you one card, but normally I show you more. And any cards that I don't do a video on, I always post in my blog with full instructions. So make sure you check that out. Hey, Janine! Oh, so I hope you're home and you made it home safe. Yay. That makes me happy. All right. And Susie's here too. So yes, welcome. I'm kind of seeing it pause a little bit. So I hope that this is going to work okay. Like I said, I just got home, so I'm not sure how my internet's been acting. So hopefully we will be okay. But let's look at what bundle we are using tonight. This is the Encircled in Friendship bundle, and it has these beautiful dies. And then a lot of people kind of look past this stamp set because, except you guys know me, I love sentiment stamp sets, so I obviously look at it. But it also has these really pretty flowers that go with it. So I'm going to show you a card with that. And then at the end, I'm not using all of these dies, but at the end, I'm going to bring in some samples that I cut out so you can see all the different versions that this will cut out on as far as these beautiful circles. All right, so let's talk about what we need tonight. So we will be starting with a basic white card base. And it is 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4. And then you're going to need, I am bringing in the some strips from the Beauty of the Earth Designer Series paper. And this one is 1 inch by 5 1/4. And then this is actually from, if you guys aren't aware, Stampin' Up! Does these 6 by 6 paper packs that are in all of the different color families. So this is the neutrals, and I'll just show you really quick. They have each of the neutral colors, and there's like different patterns in here within each of those color families. So I'm showing you that front side, and now there's the back side. So I love using these little packs, but these come in 6 by 6, and you can get them like in the in colors, in the neutrals, in the brights, in the subtles, and in the regals. So we are using the neutrals, and this is the Mary Merlot that's in there, and it is 3 by 5 1/4. And then you need a little strip of Mossy Meadow that is not quite a half. I'm gonna say it's like, let's see, 1, 2, 3, like maybe 5/8 inch by 5 1/4. And then you are going to need, we need a lot of white tonight because we're doing some matting. So you're also going to need a piece of white that is 3 1/4 by 4 1/4. Another piece of that Designer Series neutrals color This is the Mossy Meadow with the kind of like a flower pattern, and that is 3 by 4. And then another piece of white that is 2.5 by 3.5. Another piece of white that is 4 by 4. And then you can see I've already stamped on this one. This one is also a 3 by 4 with basic white. Then we are going to need a 4 by 5.25 of the Merry Merlot, a 3 3/4 by 5 white, and then another of the little tiny strips that is almost a half by about 3 3/4. All right, so let's start getting some stuff together. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you, I know a lot of you already know about the coloring with blends, but I may have some newbies on here. So I'm going to just bring this in. I've already colored these. So I'm using a lot of Merry Merlot, and we do not have a Stampin' Blend in Merry Merlot as of yet, but I'm going to do Rich Razzleberry because it blends or looks good with the Merry Merlot. Okay, so the way that I do this is I'm going to do my flowers first, and I just pick areas on the flower that I want to be darker. And so I just kind of barely touch those areas. You don't want to be real heavy-handed with this, because if you are, you tend to make it go outside the lines. And so I color each flower at a time. And the reason I do it that way is because it's all about the saturation. It's not about how hard you push down. And so you want that dark color that you put on first to be fairly moist still when you're doing your coloring, because that's what helps it blend. And so I'm just kind of bringing that dark up a little bit so that it comes up into the flower. Okay, and then I'm going to move to the next flower. And this one I'm going to do the dark here and the dark down here, and we're going to go ahead and finish this and let that be dark. So a lot of it is just as you're learning how to do this, you kind of learn the way that you like it to blend. You know, I always like kind of putting my darks down first, but there have been times where I will color the whole thing with the light and then come in the areas that I want the dark, and then come back with the light. So I guess I should explain myself for those of you that are new to Stampin' Blends. You buy them in a combo. One is dark, and it says here on the side. So one is dark, and then one is light. And so you're just going to use these two colors. Now, you can blend with some of the other colors that we have in our blend family. I've done that before as well. So I don't always stick with just the two blends that you buy together. I will sometimes, when I'm looking for like maybe a rainbow color or something, then I bring in some different colors, especially kind of when I'm doing sea, like if I'm trying to make the sky or the sea, that's especially when I will bring in and blend with other colors. So you don't have to just blend with the light and dark in one color. You can actually bring in some other colors and make it more colorful. But when you're first starting, most people start with just the dark and the light in each of these because that's kind of what they're comfortable with. All right. And then we're going to move on to our next one. Yay, Vanessa's here. I've missed you. Girl has been busy this summer. And to me, it's still the beginning of summer. But I don't think summers last as long as they used to when I was younger. You guys tell me what you think. It just seems to me like we always had longer summer breaks when I was going to school. It just seems like as my kids got older and then my grandkids now, it just seems like their summer breaks tend to be shorter and shorter. And maybe it's just I'm old and that's the way that I think. And that's not actually what's happening, but that's just kind of how I'm envisioning it right now. So let me know if that was your experience, that I sure thought we had longer summers when I was younger, but maybe not. I just kind of feel like summer starts and then they're already back to school so quick. So again, I'm just kind of putting the darker colors towards the inside of that. And then we're going to go. And like I said, I'm not pressing really hard. I'm just getting it really wet. And the way that you know you're doing it right is if you turn it over and it's going through it, then you know you're getting a good saturation on it. If you turn it over and you can barely see the color, then you're probably not getting enough of the ink on, or the blend, the ink on there. So like I said, it's just about going back and forth and until everything just kind of blends together. So I haven't worked with my blends in a while because our designer series paper has been so pretty that I've just been making cards with designer series paper and some of the stamp sets. Now, I'm glad I did that. I went out of the line. I don't know if you guys can see that, but I went out of the line right there. And part of the things that you can buy with this is called the color lifter. And so if you're ever coloring along and you go out of line like that, let me see if I can bring it in a little closer so you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, so see this little piece right here that went out of the line? You take this color lifter and you just kind of push it back in. Voila! It's like magic. Hey, Brenda. So if you haven't used the color lifter before, you definitely want to learn how to do that. Because when you go outside of the line, you can just push that back in. Again, you want to catch it when it's fairly wet, so that if you let it dry a long time, sometimes it doesn't work really good. So now I'm coming in with my Mossy Meadow. And I'm just kind of, with the Mossy Meadow, I'm just going to kind of like follow the lines of the leaf with the dark color and then come in with the lighter color and color that in. So like I said, this is the flower, the stamp from that set, and I just think this is a really pretty flower. And when you're looking at the front of the stamp set, here's the front of the stamp set, you barely, because there's so many sentiments, you barely see how pretty this flower is. And it's actually very pretty, and I like it a lot. Like it a lot. All right. So I know Shanine was just on a trip. I know Vanessa's heading out of town on a trip. I just got back from Arizona. So has anyone else been doing any fun trips this summer so far? If not, you guys are going to have to listen to my me brag on my grandson. He is 14 and he plays on both a U14 or U15 and U16 college prep teams. These are teams that travel and go to tons of tournaments with the intention of helping these young boys get scholarships to college. And so he's usually almost always the youngest on the team, but I have to brag on him and talk about how absolutely wonderful he played. He just really impressed me. He in my eyes, of course, I'm his grandma, but I've also seen a lot of baseball, done it with his dad, and we always host Connie Mack families. For those of you that aren't from this area, we have the Connie Mack World Series coming up, and people in this area open up their homes and take care of the boys that come to play in the tournaments. And so we always do that, or have done that for the past couple of years. So baseball's kind of in my blood, and we see a lot of it. So yeah, he is like, his movement and everything just amazed me. So Brenda, you are I know you're going on vacation tomorrow. How exciting. And she's actually going out of the country. I'm a little jealous, I must say. So, okay, so now that I've got that colored, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in my, let's get you guys back out so you guys can see. So I'm going to bring in our die cut machine. And I'm not cutting out the flowers because there's not a die for the flowers, but I am going to be cutting out one of the smaller dies. Let me see if I can find it here. So like here's this set of dies. I'm going to be cutting out this center one right here. And I'm going to eventually be stamping a flower and coloring that flower in that as well. So you guys get to watch me do a lot of coloring tonight. Woohoo! So Shanine, you got to attend a baseball game at Hodgetown in Amarillo, watched a college game, and oh my gosh, I loved the whole experience. How fun. Yeah, I also got to go, so how fun, to my very first professional baseball game, because we were there over the 4th of July, and the Arizona Diamondbacks, on the 4th of July, they had a game against the San Francisco Giants, which are my son and grandson's favorite team. And then, of course, they had fireworks afterwards. But that was my first professional game. So I understand what you're saying, Shanine. When you watch people play at that level, it's just absolutely amazing. And, you know, it really, of course, we've been watching the younger boys all day. And then we went and watched the Giants play. So that was a little like, oh, my goodness. Okay, I'm going to bring in a scrap paper here. So on this little tiny one here, I'm going to bring in this flower here, which is the same flower that I stamped and colored right here. But I don't want it to get on this pretty lace. So, because see how pretty that is when it cuts out? Isn't that beautiful? Now, it has, I just want you to know, this stamp set. So the You're the Best would actually fit on this one. And I think I think it's just the You're the Best. So you could also stamp that sentiment in the center of that. But I want to stamp this flower, but I don't want it to get down here on this really pretty detail. So I'm going to use our masking technique. And look, I finally bought small Post-it notes, so I don't have to waste so much of my Post-it notes. So I'm actually going to just cover this bottom section so that when I stamp this, it doesn't get on, and actually it still might get on part of it. Oh, I did it. So it doesn't get on the that detail part. See? Because I didn't want it to cover up that beautiful detail. So that's just me. So anyway, so yeah, that's exciting. So Brenda's leaving on vacation. Shanine just got home, got to see a college basketball game. So I'm glad to hear everybody's like out having fun and doing some fun stuff. And then of course, most of you know my stamp classes are this week. I have a Thursday morning at 10 a.m. and Thursday evening at 5:30. So if you're, I still have some room. So if you're wanting to come, you can. And then my Saturday, I actually rescheduled because everybody that I had set up to come Saturday had crazy things happen in their life, and so we did not get to do it Saturday, so we're doing it this Saturday instead. So yay. It worked out for me because I didn't have anything going on. Luckily it didn't happen next week because of course next week Connie Mack starts, and I will be kind of like, I'm gonna know what it's like to be an Uber driver because I'm gonna be driving these boys around, chauffeuring them to and from their games and other activities that they have going on for these boys while they're here. So that'll be fun. And it's always exciting. I think last year I had some boys from New York, or not last year, the year before, because, you know, last year there was no Connie Mac because of COVID. So I'm just going to kind of bring this green across a little bit on that. Okay, so now you can just kind of see what that looks like. Okay, so we've got that. Now, again, I should have done this ahead of time, but there's no dies for these, so I'm gonna fussy cut them out. And fussy cutting just basically means that you're not cutting exactly on the line. I decided I kind of needed to explain all of my verbiage to you guys, because especially for anyone who's new, new to all of this, when I say fussy cut, you sometimes don't understand what I'm saying. So notice how I'm leaving kind of a white edge around it. So fussy cutting is basically just not cutting right on the line, just cutting just outside of the line. And it's a little bit easier because you don't have to be quite as exact when you're doing fussy cutting. And when you leave that little border, it helps your image to pop on your page. So that's a couple reasons why we do fussy cutting. And because I'm not good at cutting exactly, I don't like cutting anyway, but if I'm gonna cut, I would absolutely prefer doing fussy cutting. So yeah, so I decided, gosh, maybe I should be like explaining what I'm talking about, because sometimes I just say fussy cut and nobody knows what I'm talking about. And I put that in my instructions on my blog page too, with all my extra cards that I do. And so I got to thinking about it, and I thought, you know, some people may not know what I'm talking about. So I'm explaining it here for you guys. So it's just basically kind of going around the outside edges. And like, you don't even have to go like way down in. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, just depending on what look I'm looking for and what other things I'm putting on the page with it. And so, yeah, you just kind of follow that edge. And like I said, you don't have to be exact, but I do try to follow the contours of the image because like, I don't want it just to be kind of like a round circle. So that's why I kind of go in and out a little bit, just because I'm trying to keep that fun shape that they've made with the stamp. All right, so there's that one. And so let's get these other two cut out really quick. So I'm kind of making you guys watch a lot of stuff tonight, huh? Usually I get all this done ahead of time, and today was a little crazy for me. I think it was just a matter of getting back into the swing of things. I so prepped everything when I went out of town, and then I came back and I'm like, oh my goodness, I've got to design a card today and figure out what I'm going to do for my live. And because I had 2 weeks where I didn't do any Stampin' Up. It was, you know, I kind of had withdrawals a little bit. I don't know about you guys, but I enjoy doing this, and so it was a little difficult for me not to be doing Stampin' Up. I do it so much that it's, you know, such a part of my life. And so when I wasn't doing it, I was like, oh my gosh, what's happening? But I had my grandchildren to entertain me, because Connor has 2 younger siblings. And so they were there to entertain us. He's 14, and my youngest, and then Jameson is 3, and Houston is about 18 months. So we had them to entertain us and keep us busy, because as you can imagine, they can, at that age, they can manage to get into a lot of stuff. So one of the fun things that we did with them is they had these, they kind of look like Ghostbusters when we went to the game, because their mom had gotten them these little backpack water, they were like water packs, but they had the, it was a water gun. And so it looked just like kind of the thing that, if you guys remember the movie Ghostbusters, they look like little Ghostbusters, and it was hilarious because everybody around us, it was so hot, everybody around us were like, spray us, spray us. And so the boys had a good time spraying everybody. They thought it was great fun. And they were keeping everybody cooled down a bit. Okay, Yes, that's all done. So I got to tell you my story while I was cutting, so I hope you weren't too bored. Okay, so now we have all of these little pieces, and then I'm going to bring back in the die cutting machine, and with this 4x4 sheet, I am going to cut out these two together, because what happens if you cut this by itself is it leaves this beautiful image in the middle, but it doesn't cut out. So you need this outside edge around it as well, so that it will cut the whole thing out. Now, this outside edge I do want to show you. So if I wasn't, oh my goodness, listen to my English tonight. If I was just going to cut it out like that, because you can use it just like that, then you get this piece that has, I don't know if you guys can see that edging. It has like a crimped edge around. Again, that you can put some sentiments, or you could put a flower in the middle of that, you know, stamp it and color it. So there's a lot of things that you can do with these dies, different ways to use the dies. And I wish I had been a little more focused today, and I could have gotten more cards made for you guys so you could see how wonderful this bundle is, because I'm in love with it. Okay, so you're going to put that outside rim, and then you're going to put the inside one. Make sure it's all on the paper. Make sure it's straight. I'm kind of missing my magnetic die, but it kind of, I've used it so much, the poor thing is raggedy and getting misshaped on me. Okay, so then we're just going to run that through. And I think you only need to run it through once, but the magnetic die had kind of a different thickness to it, so I'm just going to run it through a few times, because there are some really delicate parts. And oh my gosh, I should have put, I don't know why I always forget to do this. When I'm making my cards at home, I don't normally forget this, but this would have been a perfect one to put that adhesive backing on before we cut it, and then it wouldn't be as hard to glue down. So then we're just going to pull that up. Now the fun thing about this is it leaves you this perfectly cut circle, which again I would put in my, I have a little container that I put all my circle scraps in that I can then use on cards later. So but we're not going to use that circle. But you know, another thing that you could do with that circle is, again, you could see how that fits perfectly on that circle. I could have backed that circle, or just stamped that image in there, and then that could be part of your card as well. So I'm going to try to give you guys tips and tricks as I go with each of these sets, so that you can be, your creativity can start. You guys can start thinking about different ways to use the set. Alrighty. So another fun thing that just happened, so as a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, I have a team of ladies that work with me, and we have started our, for my team, we have started our own card swap. And so we had our card swap, and it was so much fun. And so each of my little ladies, we each made 5 cards for the people that were participating. And then we traded cards. We used all new product, and it was just so much fun to get all of those cards from each other, and see how everyone is using the products. And it was the first time that we did it, and we're doing another one this month, so that's always fun. So that's for people that join my team and become demonstrators. Now most people think that when you join to be a demonstrator, that you have to do what I do and have classes and do all of this stuff, but you don't. You can just join it to get a discount on your purchases, and but then you still get to do all the fun team stuff. So isn't this pretty when it's all cut out? What do you guys think? Gorgeous, gorgeous. So if we have time at the end, I may bring in some of those cards. I know a lot of you have seen them on my Facebook page, because I did post it. All right, so I think we've got everything cut out. Oh, nope, I need to do one more thing. So on this little, I think it's the 2.5 by 3.5, I'm going to run this through an embossing folder, and I'm going to be using, if I haven't misplaced it already, I keep doing that. I get everything out where I know where it is, and then I lay stuff on top of it. There it is. So I'm going to be using this Ornate Floral 3D embossing folder. And so we're going to run that through. So let me grab my die cut machine. Oh, and I'm going to be cutting one more thing out too. So I'll just do that while I'm here. And then we'll be done with the die cutting machine. So I'm just going to place that in here like so. Fold that shut. And because it's a 3D embossing folder, you only use the number, you use your base plate, and then you put your embossing folder with the paper inside of it, and then this gray number 4 plate. And hold on. Let me get it straight so it'll go through. Well, I might have the other one on there. Hold on. Oh, yep. Do not leave the number 2 plate on there. You just need the base plate. Let me make sure that's still straight. I was wondering why that wasn't going through. So you want to take that really thin number 2 plate off when you're using the 3D embossing folders. Then I want to show you this because it's so pretty. I don't know if you guys have really played with this embossing folder or have it, but isn't that gorgeous? Look at that. So pretty. So pretty. All right, so let me get those 2 out of the way, and then I am going to, with that little strip of paper that I had, again, if I can find anything right now, I start out so neat. I promise you guys I do. So with this little strip right here, I'm actually bringing in, do you guys remember these? They're still, you can still get these. They're called the Tasteful Label dies. And I want to use this, this little banner die. And I think I'm actually going to, let me just move this to the side because I want to go ahead and stamp the sentiment. So apologize everything in the way. So I'm going to use the sentiment from the stamp set that says you're the best. And the reason I'm stamping it first is because I just want to make sure it's a little easier to get things centered. Or you don't, I guess I could say you don't have to be quite as careful when you're stamping. If you stamp it first and then die cut it out, it just helps it so it doesn't get catty corner or cattywampus. Okay, so then I'm gonna take this, and then to see what I'm talking about, so now I can, let me put it where I can see it. So now I'm going to get it centered, and you can hold it down with the washi tape if you want to. I've had pretty good luck with just making sure that I'm careful when I put my top plate on, and that when I push it down, I'm holding it in place. And so my dies don't really move that much. But again, if you're new to die cutting, or your dies tend to move a lot, then you would want to use washi tape. So this is a really fun one because it puts that stitching all the way around it. Okay, so now I think I really am done with my die cutting machine. Don't know if you guys believe me. Don't know if I believe myself. We shall see. All right, so now we're ready to start assembling our card. So the way we're going to do this is we're going to bring in our card base, and I've already scored it. So I'm just going to fold that and use a bone folder. This is what we call bone folders, and they're used to just help with the creasing. And then I'm going to open it back up because I'm going to take this Beauty of the Earth strip that I have. And I'm actually going to use, for this strip especially, I'm going to use liquid glue. And the reason that I'm using liquid glue is because I want to make sure I get this placement on here straight, because everything else kind of goes, gets placed based on this very first strip. So it's important to me that I get the alignment right on this one so that everything else will look straight. And like I've always told you, with the liquid glue, it gives you a little wiggle room. So I think I've got that pretty straight. All right, so then we're gonna bring in this Mary Merlot piece, and it's gonna go, just gonna butt up right against that one. Now for this one, I can use my Stampin' Seal Plus. And the difference between the Stampin' Seal Plus and the Stampin' Seal is that this is just a stronger adhesive. So again, if you're wanting to be able to move things once you place them down, the Stampin' Seal Plus is not as friendly in that area. So it doesn't, you don't get a lot of wiggle room. Once you lay it down, it's down. Okay, so then that's gonna go like so. Then we are going to bring in this little piece here, and it is going to, again, butt up right against this piece, but go right over the top of this one. And because it's so thin, if you'll notice, it's thinner than this is, so I'm going to use my liquid glue again for this. So we're just going to put some liquid glue here. And lay this one down. Alrighty. Then we are going to come in with this piece of Whisper White, and I think this is the 3 1/4 by 4 1/4. So I'm going to just center that on there. Again, I'm just using my Stampin' Seal Plus, and you guys will notice me use a lot of different adhesives, and it just depends on like what I'm trying to do. So like with this one, I wanted to make sure I could get the placement. I like the Stampin' Seals, or what you can call tape runners, because they make it a little bit quicker. So it just makes it go, like, you know, you can get the adhesive on there quick and get your paper down there quick. So that's why I like all of it. I like all of the different adhesives that Stampin' Up! Has, and I use them all, as most of you who come to my class are very aware of, correct? You've seen me use the mini glue dots, the Stampin' Dimensionals, and then I've used the fine tip liquid glue pen. Okay, so this one is going to go next. So this card has a lot of layering on it. I guess I was in the mood to layer tonight, or today when I was making this. Okay, then we're going to bring in, remember that really pretty embossed piece? So we're going to bring that in, and it's going to sit on top of this. Let me get this in a little bit closer, because it's looking, because I have a white background, everything's looking very white, or glaring, I guess. And again, because this has dimension in it, I'm going to use my liquid glue to make sure that it gets down in all of the areas that I need it to get in. The Stampin' Seal Plus would work fine, but again, if I need to move it a little bit, I want to make sure that I have the ability to move that. So as you guys can see, I go back and forth quite a bit with the different adhesives that I use. All right, so let's get that. I don't think I got that quite. And I just kind of cut my nails a little bit, so I'm having a harder time getting pieces up if I don't like the way I lay them down. Okay, so we're to that point. Then we're going to bring in this beautiful circle that we cut out. I hope you guys are loving these. They're so pretty. Oops, I see one more little dot there. And this is the one I told you I should have put the adhesive backing on it, because I could have pulled it down and just gone boop, and it would have gone down. But I failed to do that. So I'm going to bring in my silicone mat while I put the glue on this, just so that I don't get glue on the paper that I'm working on, and then therefore get it on the back of my card. So I'm just going to kind of go around, and there's like some bigger spots here at the bottom of each of these little flourishes. And then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to catch some of these bigger spots up here. And I'm just putting a dot of glue. You guys have heard me a million times tell you it doesn't take a lot of this glue to secure it down. It really is just getting a little dot. Now, when you first open these liquid glues, and this one is a pretty new one, you got to be careful how much you squeeze it, because if you squeeze it too hard, then obviously you're going to have a lot of glue. All right, so I am going to place this like so, and see if I can get that somewhat centered. And then just lay that down. Then I'm going to come in with this, remember this little piece that we colored earlier? Yay, you're back. I didn't know you went anywhere. And I'm going to use my mini dimensionals. And I'm going to stick them on the back of this. And again, just inside this section, making sure not to have it overlap where the lace part of this is. Whoops. That didn't pull that. And this is, for those of you that don't know, this is the Take a Pick tool. And it works really good to pull the tops of these off, as well as pull them off and stick them on your page. I'm trying to be a neater stamper. Don't know if that'll ever really happen. And so I want this to overlap it. So as I start to put this on, I'm gonna, you guys know I say this all the time, I do kind of these dry, what I call dry runs. And I think I want this to be offset a little bit more. All right, so I'm going to put that there, and that's popped up. And then I'm also going to do a dry run because I want these flowers to be sticking up here, but they're going to actually be glued down with liquid glue, not dimensionals, but I want them to kind of pop up and pop out. Not pop up, but just pop out from behind that flower. So again, I'm going to bring in my silicone mat and get this glue adhered. And again, the reason I use the silicone mat is so if I get glue anywhere, it's really easy to wash off later, and I can move it out of the way so that I'm not getting glue on any of the other pieces or on my card that I'm making. So you guys know I love my silicone mat. I use it for a million different things. Alrighty. So there's that one. And again, I'm just going to stick this one. And I want that one to kind of go that direction. Okay, so both of those are going to sit like that. Then we are going to, because this is popped up, I am going to put some liquid glue behind here, like just on this edge and on the top of this edge, and then I'm going to put my dimensionals, but this time I'm going to use the regular dimensionals. So I do that a lot where I have like a couple of things that are popped up that are right next to each other, and the trick to that is just making sure that you're not putting a dimensional where it's going to hit something that's already popped up. So I'm going to do it like so, and it will pop this up, and then by putting liquid glue right behind here on these little tiny edges, then that will glue to this other piece that is popped up. So that's kind of my trick for popping up. And I'm just putting a little tiny bit of glue. Let me pull these papers off. And then flip that over. And I want to cover not this white edge, but this white edge up here. So then that's where the liquid glue is, so that's going to hold there. All right, so there we are with building our card. And then remember this little banner that I did. Again, because I've done so much dimension here, I have to, again, pay attention to, like, see when you, I don't know if you guys can see that, but when I set that down, this side is higher. When I push this down, let me see if I can show you with my Take a Pick tool. When I push this down, can you see how I can fit that underneath there? So it's raised up. So if I were to glue that straight, it would be like not level. So all I'm going to do again is come in and probably use my mini dimensionals, because I just want a couple of them up here at the very top. And all this is going to do is keep it level, because you guys got to think about this. As you're building up layers, you're putting dimension on your card. So when you're thinking about popping it up, you want to make sure that you do what I call those dry runs, where I set that down first to see how it was going to lay before I decided how I was going to adhere it. So then I'm going to come in here and just stick that like so. And so this is gonna attach to that, and then those two little dimensionals is gonna keep that part up, so it's now level. Don't know if it's straight, but it's level. Okay, and then on the front of the card, the last thing that we are going to do is I'm going to bring in some of our rhinestones, and I am going to color them with the dark, rich razzleberry, and I'm just gonna do 3. What do you guys think so far? You guys are being so quiet tonight. That's because you guys got used to me just watching the video, right? How many of you guys actually watched the videos that I posted for you guys? Because I did some fun cards. So I'm curious how many of you actually tuned in and saw those. Okay, so then I'm just going to use the putty side of my Take-A-Pick tool. It helps me to pick up these jewels. And then I'm just going to stick them. Oh, where do I want this one to go? Yeah, I'm having a hard time deciding where I want that one. Right there. So then we're going to just place those jewels there. And then I'll set that to the side for just a second. So we're going to do the inside of the card. So basically this is going to be attached to that. This is the Mary Merlot piece. And this is 4 by 5 1/4. And so I cut my Whisper White piece down to 3 3/4 by 5. I'm getting to the end. When you get to the end of these, they tend to not run quite as smooth. So we're going to lay that into place. Hopefully I'm getting it straight. Then again, I'm going to do liquid glue for this one. I'm glad you're liking the card, guys. I can't wait to do some more designing with this set. And like I said, hold on for a second, because I'm going to show you what all of the dies cut out so you can see all of the different, see, and then I dropped my glue on my paper. So that was helpful. I should have left that silicone mat there one more second. But one thing that I do is I just rub my finger across it so that it gets all the, and then I have these really fun glue erasers, but I'm going to get that off of my paper so it doesn't stick to my card. Okay, and then I'm going to come in with this other sentiment from the card, and this sentiment says, so the front of it says you're the best, and on the inside it says just a note to let you know that someone thought of you today. So isn't that a fun sentiment? I mean, you know, I think we need more of that in the world today, where we're just kind of sending cards to people to just say, hey, you know, I'm thinking of you. And from experience, I can tell you that it's amazing how that affects people when they get a card from someone that just says, I'm thinking about you. You know, it can make their day. We can do a lot of good with our cards, can't we, guys? Okay, so then that's going to be the inside. So I'm just going to put some adhesive on here. Turn this over, and then this will fit on the inside like so. All right, so there's the finished card. So there's the front of it. Isn't it pretty? I just love it. Who knew this set could be this pretty, right? But see that beautiful, like, detailed, it reminds me of doilies, but they're not doilies, but that's kind of what it reminds me of. So there's the front and there's the inside. And so I wanted to show you, so I'm going to bring back in the dies and I'm going to show you guys really quick, like which, obviously you guys saw this one. And so this one right here was what I cut out using these two pieces together. And then I already showed you that this piece on its own cuts out this really fun shape, which again, you could stamp a flower on the inside. And think of the other stamp sets that you could use with this die set. I think I've got you guys in, okay? And then, you know what? I'm going to bring in my other silicone mat so that there's a better backing so that you can see these better. Okay, and then this was the one I used to stamp the little flower on. And then this die right here, this little one right here, look how pretty that is when it's stamped out or cut out. And again, you could put a flower in there, you could put a sentiment in there, and I hope I'm giving you guys some like inspiration if you have this set of things you could do. Okay, and so let's talk about these other dies. So this one this one right here is what cut this one out. So this big one, look how pretty this is. Cuts this, look at the edging on that one. Isn't that pretty? And think about everything that you could stamp in the inside of this to make it just super special. And then this die cuts out this really beautiful shape with that stitching around the inner part of that. So I love this set. I just think it's beautiful. I did do a lot of layers with this card, but I still think that it's, you know, I'm thinking about all the different designer series paper that we have that you could just add, you know, this with a sentiment in the center with a ribbon around the back of it, and how easy it would be to do cards with this set. So I hope I've given you guys something to think about for those of you that ordered this set. I hope that I've helped you with some inspiration on doing these cards. So anyway, guys, thanks for being with me tonight. I will be back next Tuesday. And for those of you coming to my card class this week, I'm so excited to be having a card class and getting to see everybody and talk to everybody. And for those of you that don't live here and I don't get to see you, I'm so glad that you take the time to join me on Tuesday nights because it keeps me in touch. And I so appreciate the time that you guys give to me. Especially when you order from me, I so appreciate that. So everybody have a great evening. Again, if you guys have any questions on anything, make sure you contact me and let me know. And I will be uploading this to my YouTube. So if you're watching it on YouTube, you're probably watching the replay. But just make sure that, you know, you like my page and that you subscribe to my channel. And then that helps me get more leverage on the things that I can do on YouTube. So anyway, guys, everybody have a great night. I appreciate all of you. And I hope everybody has a great week. And for those of you coming to my card class, can't wait to see you. Talk to you soon. Bye.